Easy E, how are we?
Shawnee, what's happening?
Nothing much. I'm panicking now at the moment because I'm not a cyclist, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of Mondelo 24 starting this weekend, and but I feel better with this podcast because we've got people in the podcast are doing, in my mind, a lot bigger task than I have this Saturday, both running and cycling. But before we get into all that, we have I'm actually speechless on this, so I'm gonna let you take over from here.
Yeah, so this one, for all those that know, Rachel Smith, who has been a frequent of the podcast and does a lot with the podcast as well, has had a great weekend in Ironman Cairns in the full Ironman. She was the first overall female in the non-professional category. So she even beat three professionals in the professional
Jeez.
category. So it was an absolutely amazing performance. Her swim over the 3.8K, she swam at an average of 142 per 100 meters, was absolutely amazing. Her cycle, she averaged 34 kilometers an hour for the cycle. And then Rachel has never ran a marathon before.
Right.
And this is the best bit. She ran an average of 4:33 pace for a full marathon, given her time of a 3 hour 12 marathon for her first ever marathon on the end of an Ironman. So absolutely amazing. So top, not just top in her age group, top of all the non-professional female athletes that took part in the Cairns Ironman today. Absolutely amazing effort. A true testament to consistency and training, and absolutely amazing. Herself and Brandon, obviously they're working through their own training plans with the endurance mode and stuff, and they're the proof is in the pudding. Definitely, it's absolutely amazing what she did. I was watching the live tracker and I was getting really confused because when you're looking at the leaderboard, when you click on someone's name, I was only
Right.
seeing her name, and I was like, why can't I see anyone in the splits behind her? Like I was like, oh, how far is the next person? I thought there was something wrong with the app, but she was actually 13 minutes ahead of the
Wow.
next female. So until they crossed that point, then their split would come up. So I actually had to go back like two or three splits just to see how close the next person was. So absolutely amazing performance. 9 hours, 40 minutes, I believe, was the final time on the Ironman app, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, 9 hours, 40 13 seconds.
We've had it on the podcast many times before, loads of times. Has you talked to her a lot more, obviously. Has he changed her program up at all? Has she just been consistent over the years and just getting better and better? Because every time we talk about her, it's like she won that other race, I can't think of the exact Ironman term,
The
2 years in a
Bustleton
row,
100 and the Ironman, yeah,
100.
Western Australia, yeah.
Yeah, but she did back to back, and she's getting stronger. Do it. Is it just consistency with her? Is she doing anything new?
Well, I suppose Brandon is coaching her through. They both have a fantastic background in sport, and the plan is always changing. I suppose it's never it's from talking to her. They work through blocks, like most programs. They're working through different blocks. They're flexible. She has a full-time job, like it's something that they're constantly just changing, adjusting, and suiting. But consistency is by far the king. When you look at Rachel Strava, the consistency is there. It's amazing the level of consistency, effort, and dedication, and that's it. It is pure dedication, training, and yeah, and hard work and good planning. So it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's an inspiration. It almost would make me want to go out and run in 47-degree heat, but it's no, it's absolutely amazing. Very proud of her. It's a good run and a proud day for the Smith family.
Just emphasize it again because I don't think you actually said it. The overall time of the Ironman for her, Rachel.
9 hours, 40 minutes, 13 seconds. And it was her first ever full Ironman, first ever marathon.
That is sick. Absolutely sick.
Well, it
Fair play to her.
makes me feel worse about 13 hours, but yeah, I
Oh man,
claimed I had to work for longer, so mine was definitely a harder day.
even her, and she's doing like 34 kilometers an hour, and like obviously I'm doing the Mondelo 24 this weekend and trying to get my splits, and like in my head I'm like, oh, if I get 28 to 30, don't burn myself out, and I'm only going out for 45 minutes, and then another three people come on and I'm back on like an hour and a half, 2 hours later. Now 28 30 is probably a little high to what I'll actually do, but this is a flat on like Mondello is relatively flat around the course over and over, and I'm allowed to draft. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping. She's obviously not. I mean, you can't draft when you're in the lead, so she obviously can't draft in the Ironman anyway.
Yeah, and she's holding them powers and she's holding that speed for 5 hours, 13 minutes. That was her bike time. So absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing when you look at her splits of the timings. For those who are interested, go onto the Ironman Kern's app, go to the tracker, and you'll see the results for the overall female. And it's absolutely amazing, the consistency. Obviously, you can see the stages where there was obviously climbs, and you can see when she got onto the flat, the power was there. It was yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And this is still with eyes on to going to the World Championships in December in New Zealand.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Can't wait to hear more about that when she gets closer and closer to it. She's gonna
Yeah,
do
we'll let her
unreal.
recover and then we'll drag her back onto the podcast.
Yeah, we'll drag a little bit closer to December, then we'll build her up from there. But before we get into this week's episode of the podcast and our guests, June 22nd seems to be a big day. There's a lot of things going on, including what our guests in the podcast this week are doing. But as well as that, I want to send a quick shout out to Dara, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, as well as PJ. They're doing the coast to coast. I don't know if you've heard about this, Eric.
No.
It starts on Bray Head in Wicklow. And they start going along the Wicklow Way. They end up in South Leinster Way, the East Munster Way. Very creative names. The Blackwater Way. And then I can't pronounce that last one. I'm not going to try. Onto the Kerry Way before arriving in Bray Head on Valencia Island sometime the 27th, 28th of June. So they're going to be going for 5-6 days, coast to coast across the country. So we'll have that up in our stories and track their progress and stuff. I know Dara's doing it for a good cause as well. He's doing it for Down syndrome and motor neuron disease. So we'll have that up. We'll keep track of their progress, and best luck to the two boys.
And to be fair, I know the two Bray Heads, they've made the right choice in setting their target on a nicer one anyway.
Well, I think it's a part of a race. Like it's not that they're just setting off doing it. This is an actual race series and stuff. So there's a good few people doing that. So I know it changes every year what the story is with it. I haven't been brave enough to look into something like that. I'll stick with 24 hours for now.
No, phenomenal challenge. And I've no doubt the guys are well used to these kind of endurance events, but I suppose nothing prepares you until the day of, and then they'll figure it out. But it'll be great to track them, and we will keep you guys updated next week with the progress.
And to keep it going with the endurance, our next guests in the podcast have a long 24 hours ahead of them. And as I talk about in the intro of the podcast, they are doing something in 24 hours that took you 5 days to do, Eric Lawless.
Hold on a minute. There's been accusations thrown around here. Oh, hold on a minute. We went the hard way.
The job is simple. Malin to Mizen or Mizen to Malin. You know, however you do. If you want to make life hard for yourself, make life hard for yourself. But that's
the military.
The
military and the Air Corps will always find a harder way to do things than it needs to be done. But that's not to take away from what these guys are doing, and it's all in store in the podcast. It's amazing conversation with a father and son combination. It's amazing what they're doing, the challenge that they're taking on, and they've got some great insights for some cycling events around the world, and it's going to be interesting to see, and they're putting it here on the podcast for everyone to see. So hopefully they can achieve the goal of 24 hours. And I don't want to give too much away from the episode. It's all in there for this description, from Mizen to Malin in 24 hours. It's an amazing one, and it's a really good listen.
And absolutely best luck to the pair of them. And with that said, it's this week's episode of the Any Given Runday Podcast. Let's go. So this week on the Any Given Runday Podcast, I actually don't know what we have this week, because I got an email on this one a couple of weeks ago from Joe Collery saying that there is a mad challenge going on, going from Malin to Mizen Head, which is tough enough on a bike, but to do it somehow in under 24 hours. I don't know how that's possible. Like, Eric did it in 3 days, and 5 days it took Eric to do it, and he was very proud of 5 days. So, and we were gloating about that.
We were on a drinking holiday, Sean, with a bit of
you were gloating about that in the podcast last year. So I hope we're going to take that episode down after this one. So this week's episode of the podcast, we have Gary and his father Martin on the podcast to talk all about it. Guys, how are we getting on?
Not too bad, lads. Last big training spin was yesterday, so bodies are a little bit tired today, but good spirits.
So why did you go from Malin to Mizen and not Mizen to Malin? Is it because one's downhill all the way from north to south? Is it easier that direction, or?
You don't tell them.
Oh, you go ahead. Yeah.
Well, generally, it's Mizen to Malin is the way everyone says it, because in Ireland the prevailing winds is generally southwesterly. Now this is Mizen to Malin, but it could end up being Malin to Mizen. We have a window of a few days beforehand where we can change if the wind is a northerly wind, let's say. So we've all the logistics, we've all the accommodation, and before and afters booked on both sides. So
very good, very good. So you're taking on a challenge that I've done myself, and it is tough. It's not easy. It has every kind of terrain you can have, and if weather is on your side, it can be a little bit easier. If weather's not on your side, you're very open in a lot of this cycle, and it's an amazing challenge. What brought you to do this challenge?
We were talking with this with the club and that, and I came up there at a meeting and we were at, and the boys just threw it out there to see would there be anybody interested. We had about, I think at the beginning we 14, which is now dwindled down to 10. And I just said,
you can name and shame them for, we don't mind.
maybe later.
It's been a cycle for us, maybe.
But when they come up, I says, yeah, we'll do it. And he was looking at me, and I said, yeah, we'll do it. Because Gary's wife said they only had a new baby there. So I said, yeah, Mum will come out and she will help her every Sunday. That'll give you time for training. So I nominated him. So at that stage, he didn't really have any choice.
Yeah.
Talk about being between a rock and a hard place there.
Oh. And he's there to look after me as well.
Congratulations on that, Gary, first. But what? Obviously, you're in a cycling club, the White River Wheelers. I knew I butchered that. From Dunleer, County Louth. I don't know why I attempted it. White River Wheelers.
Yeah.
I'm saying that 5 times. So you've obviously done a couple of different events leading up to this. I'm assuming this is the first time you've done Malin to Mizen, is it?
Correct. Yeah.
And you've done other events as well. I'm seeing one of them was the Wicklow 200, because that was on this weekend as well.
Yeah, so we've done plenty of them sportifs in the past. The biggest one probably was the Mallorca 312.
What's that?
So we did that 2 years ago, where you do 312 kilometers, or about 5,000 meters elevation. Around.
Holy God!
Yeah,
5,000 meters.
Yeah. It's a timed event, so you've got cutoffs and stuff that you have to get around in less than 14 hours. So that was the biggest one we've done to date. Yeah.
How do you prepare? How do you prepare for something like that? Like now, look, Ireland is a great place for cycling. We have great cycle places in the Dublin Mountains, even up around Louth and stuff. There's great cycle routes. You can add in some hills. 312 kilometers is a long way, and 5,000 meters is a lot. What kind of training are you guys putting in? How much babysitting is your wife doing? You can prepare for 312.
We did Mallorca 4 years ago. No, was it 2 years ago? Sorry. When my firstborn was 4 months. And
you have a death wish.
Yeah. And this is Malin now. My second daughter is 6 months. So yeah, look,
you need to stop having kids.
The only thing about doing the Mallorca 312 for the time of year it's in, it's I think the end of April. You're trying to train in the winter, and it's absolute torture at times. And it's freezing cold, it's wet. It's really, really hard to do the training. I said never again will we train for something like that at that time. It's just too hard to train in Ireland at that time. If
it was a shorter distance race, you'd be okay. But to try and you're trying to do 10, 12-hour cycles in
your misery.
March, but it's really tough now, and you can't really replicate the elevation on the hills. So the only benefit I guess we have here is we have a lot of wind.
Yeah.
So you're really having to put up maybe your output of watts when you're cycling would have to remain quite high for 15, 20 minutes at a time cycling against the wind here. So that's what we were using. We weren't afraid of the wind over here. We were kind of using it to our advantage, saying, look, let's cycle into this maybe for 30 or 40k. Essentially, it's just power to weight, really, as anyone who cycles knows. So, okay, let's put out the power for 15 or 20 minutes. And although it's not replicating the exact cadence you're doing on a cycle, it's as best you can do over here.
But you can't replicate.
It's kind of the heat is one thing.
It was
now, especially on a bike. if ever you're going to feel cold, it's on a bike. And no matter how many layers you wear, no matter what the wind is and how hard you push it in your toes, your fingers,
Oh,
it is horrible.
absolutely. And then
Sean
when
was laughing at
you go
me.
to Spain and you go to do the cycle, then you're going from one extreme to the other. It's like 30, 40 degrees and the sweat's running out of you. And you're
Sean
climbing.
was always slagging me, calling me a fair weather cyclist. I wouldn't even buy the winter gear for the bike. I was like, I'm not even doing it.
That's all I have. That's all I have is winter gear. Like,
yeah. One summer jersey, because that's all we need.
So talk us through. Sorry, talk us through the Mallorca 312, like, because obviously it's a huge race. It's obviously one of the largest I've heard of. We've heard of great distances, the Wicklow 200. How did the actual event go itself?
It went fairly well for us, actually. To be honest, it was quite smooth. You start at 6 a.m. and you get a good chunk of the climbing done. It's about 3,500 meters done by 180k. So you get a good bit of get that out of the way when it's quite cool. The key with events like that, there's 8,000 people who do it.
Wow. Yeah, it's huge numbers.
Huge numbers, yeah. The big key with all these events, and the Wicklow 200 is the same. My advice to anybody who's doing it is, if you can, prep and bypass the first food stop, because
it can be.
Yes.
We were 45 minutes at the first food stop in Mallorca trying to get water. Like, you imagine, it was a small enough road, and you've got 700-800 bikes. Like, you couldn't even cycle through. You had to get off your bike. There was stuff everywhere. We were queuing for maybe 30 minutes just to get water, and there's a group of cyclists who wear polka dot jerseys, and they're the pacemakers. So you have to stay ahead of them. If you don't stay ahead of them, when you get to the next cutoff, they take your number and you have to finish. So we had walked.
How far are they behind you when you're coming to that first stop?
Well, we had worked quite hard at the first stop, like, to stay ahead of them, like a good chunk ahead of them. And after about 20 minutes of queuing for water, these guys pull in. And
they're handed all the gear, so they don't have to queue. So they go to the side, they're given all the stuff, they do what they do. We're sitting there trying to get our stuff, and all of a sudden then they start to pull out. And then Gary's shouting at me, "Doggone, come on, come on."
I'm a bit of a stickler for time. I'm a time Nazi now, and my dad here does like to, do a bit of faffing around, as I say. So
like to chill a little bit.
So I was like, look, let's go. So we kind of, and like, these guys, like, they're kind of semi-pro cyclists and stuff. So they set a tempo of, it will be an average of 25 kilometers an hour for the day, which is punchy enough, like, for a 312 with 5,000 meters climbing. So we spent the next couple of hours basically trying to get back ahead of them. Got to the next stop, went a bit smoother, and then we hit one of these climbs, like a 6 kilometer, 5% climb. And these guys play music as they cycle. And
on the climbs. So
I'm probably 15 kilo heavier than my dad. So he's like, I was doing a lot of work in the flat. He's like a mountain goat. So he's talking to me as we're going up this climb, and I'm just now trying to focus on the next meter ahead of me, and I can hear this music playing in the background, and they were like the Grim Reaper. They were just catching me.
Louder. And the song they were playing, I'll never forget, was saying it was U2. It's a beautiful day. And they were getting closer
I can't listen to that song anymore.
And then they pull up beside you, then you're going, "Oh, where did you come from?" And one of the boys was riding the same bikes that we were riding.
Yeah.
And Gary said to them, "Oh, that's the same bike as mine. How is yours going faster than mine?"
The sweat was just dripping on my face. I was like, "How is your bike going faster than mine?" But I did find that quite funny as he cycled off up the road. The last maybe 100, 120k is relatively flat. So they kind of maintain a half decent pace. So we were able to, at that point, then kind of catch them, pass them, and stay ahead of them for the rest of the day. But the very last stop is actually beautiful, lads. If you ever get to do this event, anybody gets to do it. At about 280k, there's a stop in a little small village, and all of the village is shut down, and all of the locals come out and they set up a bar. And,
yes.
And they hand out free pints.
So you have a few drinks when you stop.
They could take my number. It'd be a 280k
Yeah, that's it.
race for me.
And when you pull in, everybody's dancing and the music is playing, and you come in and get off the bike. So you've about another, is it
30k.
30k after that? So you have a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 drinks, and you're going, oh, yeah, I think we better go, because the boys pull in then, and they're sitting there and they're going, well, maybe we have another one. No, we'll go because we need to stay ahead of these and get in before them.
With some great videos with the guys in the polka dots dancing and stuff, and you have a couple of drinks and you're thinking, sure, like I'm done now, like the relief, I'm done, and then you remember I still have 30k, I still have an hour to do here, like I better get back in this bike and finish. Yeah,
I'd be singing Bono at that stage. Beautiful day, I'm done. 280 is a good day. It just sounds a good place to stay from here.
It was a tough day, but it was a great day, because it was just the two of us that had done it 2 years ago. So yeah, it's a great feeling.
At any point up that hill, did you just want to kill each other? Just have any of those daddy son moments?
Well, I did want to kill him at one point. So well, as I said, we walked extremely. Sorry, I walk extremely hard.
Oh, whoa!
This man sat behind me for about. He doesn't very often, but he sat behind me for about 2 hours.
No, that's not true, lads. That's not true. No evidence of that. There's no evidence of that whatsoever.
And we pulled into this stop. I think it was around about 220 kilometers, and the polka dots were there, and I was like, right, let's. In my head, I thought we were on the same page, so I was like, right, let's get this going very quickly. And there's food stations set up, so I was like, grab a couple of sandwiches each, grab a couple of bananas, and a couple of cans of Coke. We've 100k left here. Let's get some sugars on board and go. And so I'm running back to where the bikes are, and I see him, and he's sitting there, and he's got his helmet off, he's got his shoes off. At which point, I absolutely lost the plot. I was like, what are you fucking doing? Put your shit on you and go. And so I have all the stuff like in my pockets or whatever, and we're on the bike, and he's quite looking at me going, how am I supposed to eat this? And I was like, fucking eat it as you're cycling. So
terrible.
I'm shoving him a sandwich, and then I'm giving him a sup of Coke, and it's coming out his nose. And just keep pedaling. We didn't come this far to not fucking make it.
Yeah. Views me was.
This sounds like a proper day out, though.
In fairness, right, and I will say only for him pushing that day, we wouldn't have made it, because you have to stay ahead of these boys. If you don't stay ahead of them, it's game over. Now you can finish it, but the idea is to finish it ahead of them, so you make the cut.
Get your medal.
I think we've done just over 12 hours, wasn't it? Like you can come in 14 hours, but it's not the same because you're not in ahead of them.
Yeah. And I'm sure these guys take their time at the last spot just to give everyone that little bit of a chance. They have probably 5-6 points and let everyone cycle in. It sounds like an amazing one. So we've gone from that and we've done a few. We had a guest on recently, Chrissy. She said the Wicklow 200 was the worst thing she's ever done in her life. How bad is it?
It's
brutal. Not as bad as the 312, but it is brutal.
It's close. It's close.
Well, considering over 200k, it can leave that much of an impression and leave 112k out.
Yeah, I think it's probably definitely the hardest one-day sportive in Ireland for me anyway. Because we've done loads of them. We've done Connemara a couple of weeks ago, and we've done like all of the sportives really in Ireland. But yeah, 200 is very tough. The climbs are just it's so open, it's so windy. The climbs are very, very bad. The surfaces on some of them climbs aren't great. And again, the food stops aren't fantastic. The first one in particular, the year we did it, it was in the GAA club, and you kind of had to queue around the pitch.
And now we were there
an hour, trying to get a bit of food.
So wouldn't do it anymore. We were doing it. I'd skip the food stop before and just go to the garage, something, get a roll,
get a sandwich and a drink. And
you lose too much time. And you get cold and that,
It's
the sting comes out of it when you're standing around.
Yeah. And it's an early start. I think it's 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Like 7 maybe. 7 o'clock.
But like you have to leave. Like it's we left here at maybe.
You're up at 3 o'clock.
Leaving at 4.
It's a lot. You're getting back at 7 o'clock in the evening. It's a long day, which probably adds to it. Yeah. But it's definitely of all the ones we've done. We've cycled in France and Spain and Tenerife and everywhere. But Wicklow 200 has left its mark.
Yeah.
You cycled in France. Did you do the French Alps?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that compares to the Wicklow Mountains.
I tell you, we did out the
Don't
way.
give Wicklow credit.
Yeah, I'm a Wicklow man. I'm not taking it.
Well, in fairness, we done out to Wes, and we done was it Galibier, was it?
Yeah, we done Telegraph and Galibier and
yeah.
Glandon and a few of them, and we
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's as tough as that.
we did the Marmotte route. You know the Marmotte in France.
Explain it for the listeners.
It's like 180.
And Sean.
And Eric as well. The man's a bluffer. I had the clue.
It's basically the 180k one-day sportif where you do 4 of they're either category 1 or HC beyond category climbs of the Tour de France. So you do the Glandon, the Telegraph, and the Galibier together, and then you do Alpe d'Huez at the end. So we did that route with the guys from the club. That was probably 2018, maybe.
2018, yeah.
And we, at the time we did it, I think it was about 20 of us that went. And you know, the usual, the first climb is like 25 kilometers, and people were going up at their own pace, and there was lads at different levels of fitness than other guys. And like, it was a long day, let's put it that way. And we got to this village at the bottom of the Telegraph, and you do Telegraph, which is about 12 kilometers into a little village, and then you go up to the Galibier. And that's 17 or 18 kilometers.
That was roasted as well.
Yeah, long climbs.
We met a group of pro cyclists. It took us that long to get to this village, like between mechanicals and punctures and, you know, different stuff. We said we'll stop for a bit of lunch because, like, we were out for about 5 hours at this point, and we should have been probably halfway home, and we weren't. And we met a couple of the pro teams who were out there doing a bit of recon for the Tour de France. And so we just happened to chat to a few of them, you know, and all these guys weighing like 68 kilo, you know, and they're looking at me, and I'm betting to my cycling jersey.
The lads are looking like credit cards.
Right? Yeah. What's the plan for a day? And I told them, and when I said it, they presumed we had finished the Telegraph and the Galibier, and they said, "Oh, it's good you're finished the Galibier.
Very hot,
very hot." And I said, "No, we're just going to start." And he goes, "Oh, you, my friend, are in trouble." And he was correct.
He was correct. They would roast him.
Now, I won't name and shame them. There was too many to name and shame.
Yeah.
Only 6 of us made it to the top of the Galibier.
Out of 20?
Seven or 8 got a taxi.
Yeah. Got a taxi with the bikes and passed us in the taxi as we were climbing.
Who let the air out of the professional's bike? I'll show him hard day.
Yeah, he crashed out in the Tour de France, and I wasn't too disappointed.
Excellent. So you guys obviously have a wealth of knowledge of cycling. You've used it for a lot of different experience, and now this is what's bringing it towards this trip. We're trying to do Mizen to Malin, Malin to Mizen, whichever the wind is going to favor, and it's in 24 hours. We're trying to do it. What is the total distance, or what route are you guys taking?
It's roughly 600 kilometers.
Yeah, 590 to be precise. 4,200 meters elevation, and we're going to follow. It's basically the same route everybody does who does it. You go right up. If you come from Mizen, it's a long way out of Cork. Actually, it's about 8 hours.
It's a long way, and then you hit Kerry, and that's even worse.
Yeah, it's about 8 hours to get out of Cork. Then you go past kind of Limerick at Lone, and all the way up to Derry, and up to Malin Head from there. And
so what is the plan? How is the team going to get us there?
We have 10 cyclists and 4
four cowards. Yeah, 4 cowards. We mentioned them. What are the 10?
Brew is just supporting the cyclists.
Only one coward who pulled out.
Only one.
Yeah,
only one.
Dave Carroll, just for
he better make a big donation for the charity.
Yeah.
So we'll pack the vans up on Thursday evening. Friday we will
head to Cork.
We're gonna get the train down to Cork. We're talking about maybe getting a bus, but you know, when you do a 24-hour cycle on the Saturday, I would rather get the train so I can walk,
relax,
move, and
you can bring food, you can snack, you can walk around, go toilet, hydrate, which is you don't want to be on a bus while you're fueling.
A bit of carb loading and hydrating the day before. get to Cork. We've a hotel booked, dinner that evening, and yeah, the next morning we'll get with the local transport company gonna collect us to get us from Bantry out to the start. It's about an hour because it really is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a good bit out.
Yeah, so we'll start the plan is to start at noon on Saturday the 22nd, and all going well, finish 10 cyclists by noon on the Sunday, and we will take a break at 100k for the first stop, 15 minutes, and then a 15-minute break every 50k after that.
Oh, this
Which
is
we've been practicing in the last 2 weekends. We've been out. We've done 360k last Sunday, and yesterday we done 350k yesterday. So we're based in Dunleer. So we had, Gary would say, he had his car there. So we would do a 400k, come back to the car, refuel, stop for 15 minutes and go. That was after the first 100, and then every 50 after that is and that's what we plan to do on the day. So we're trying to replicate that and trying to keep the stops then to a minimum, which is pretty tight as well when because it's hard. You get off the bike and you have to refuel, get everything. And, Andy McAfee is one of the lads I'd be calling Big Ben. He was the timekeeper, and he'd be shouting, 2 minutes.
Big Ben.
Oh, for just 2 minutes. I'd be trying to get my shoes back on.
Do you have it then average pace or time in that 50k, or is it to get to a certain destination by a certain time?
No, so the crew, so that we'll pretty much have a van about 100 meters or so in front of us for the whole event, and they will do navigation, and there will be a van behind us which will have, we'll have 3 spare bikes, a small, a medium, and a large, and spare wheels and all that stuff on all our food. And their job will be, now this is going to be kind of roughly so they will go off up the road at some point and find somewhere for us to put in a car park, a school car park, side of the road where there's enough room for us to pull in. And when we get there, we'll just stop. They should have our boxes with all our food and stuff laid out for us. We'll just go in, eat like savages, change whatever clothes we need to do, lights, all that stuff, and then jump back on the bike and go.
So I'm going to ring the bell for 2 minutes to go. And if you're not ready, then you have to catch up.
And in what way are you going to do the legs? Are you going to do it as a team of 10, or are you going to do legs? Are you going to take breaks at certain times?
No. Team of 10.
Everyone's in it together.
Yes.
In together. 2k at the front, pull over. 2k at the front, pull over. That's it. So that's the key. We want to get 10 cyclists to Donegal in under 24 hours. And if we do an average pace of 28 kilometers an hour with them time breaks, it gives us 28 minutes to spare.
Ooh,
that's tight.
It's tight.
That's very tight. Something going wrong like that, or even obviously 28 is the average, but mixing in, going obviously a lot of hills in Cork and Kerry at the start, and you're feeling good. You're probably the 2 people in front might get the inclination, geez, we might push on a little harder to get more of a distance, or what way would it work?
Well, we spoke about that as well. Look, there is times where, if the wind favourably and you're sitting and it's relatively flat, you could be doing 40k an hour. So you build kilometres is what we say, because you will lose time at night time because you'll be tired. So it's an average. So, as I said, at some stage you could be doing 40, 35, and then at other stages you might be doing 25. So it'll be an average of the day. So hopefully all going well, that's the way it'll work out.
But it was a good question, John. Yeah. It is a key point in a group of 10, especially because anybody who's cycled with a group before knows exactly what it's like when somebody's at the front and they're pushing too hard.
Yeah.
So it's a reminder that we have 600 kilometers to do, and everyone's going to feel good at the start. Everybody, and all going well, we'll have a bit of a favourable wind and it'll make it easier on the day. But our training spins to date, I think yesterday was a brutal day with wind, and we still managed over 30k an hour for the 355k. And the lads are feeling that at the end of the day, you're really feeling it. But you take that back 10%, that's the key to kind of have in your mind. We take that back on the day, a few percent, we should be relatively okay on the day. But it will be a case of at times saying to guys, look, let's just cool the jets here and take this back just a notch. Because you know yourself, when you get tired and someone putting under a little bit of pressure, it can really kill you off.
It only takes a little bit as well, like so.
Any plans for naps or anything like that during those little breaks, or just want to go straight through 24 hours? I think that could be worse, actually, taking a little nap and stuff during it. And have you planned for any kind of night runs or night cycles, during this, or has it just been your 350, you've been like 6 o'clock early in the morning doing those kind of cycles straight through?
No, we did a night run a few weeks ago. Like I personally had never cycled at night time.
Right.
So I was keen to kind of get a group of us out to do that. So we started at 10 p.m. till about 2 in the morning, just to get a feel for
Yeah.
it. And yeah, it was different. I have to say, it was different.
Especially on these roads.
You get, your reaction times to things are a lot shorter because during the day, and the Irish roads can be dreadful in places. So you can see potholes and manhole covers and stuff, quite a bit away. And we call them, obviously. At night time, the guys in front are seeing them a little bit late, which means the guys who were kind of second and third and fourth in line weren't really getting any reaction time. So that was the kind of big lesson because, you hit a pothole or manhole cover when you're not expecting it at 35k an hour, you very easily end up in the floor.
And after 14 hours of cycling with no sleep in the middle of the night, your reaction times are even slower because you're going straight through and trying to keep that concentration with the lack of light is tough, lads.
And I know people are thinking, why are these crazy people doing it? Obviously, the 22nd of June is the second longest day of the year. So you're hoping that at night, less traffic, we can move into the road a little bit. We have our safety cars. There's a little bit of thought. It's not just full crazy, but you're going to go dark for about 4.5 hours and try and be safe for that stage. And hopefully you'll be in a good...
to have the support van behind us for all of that time with the full lights on.
Light up the road for you.
And hopefully it won't be so dark that, it won't be black dark. It's a good
clear
day
night.
And, at that time of the year, that it'll be dark, but not really, really dark.
Very dry, bright, sunny day. With
windy day.
A beautiful southwest.
With a full moon that night.
Yeah. It is, man, this time of year. Like, 'cause I did a cycle recently. I was supposed to do a night cycle out in Mondello I'm doing something actually that day as well. And I was like, I'll wait till around 10, 11 o'clock. We're doing it as a relay now. Nothing compared to what you guys doing. I'm only cycling like less than 6 hours. And let someone else take most of the slack. But like I got to 11 o'clock or so and I was like, it's actually not even pitch dark at 11 o'clock. Like it's just, So it won't be as bad. It's probably just a couple of hours where you'll be really struggling with the light.
There's a bit of method to madness, I guess. Yeah.
So how different are the food boxes? Who has something weird in the food box? What's someone's guilty pleasure on a 24-hour cycle?
Well, we pulled up the week before last. So as my dad said, we were trying to replicate the day. So I would drive my car to Dunleer and have cooler boxes and stuff in it, and everyone would just arrive because everyone kind of lives much closer to Dunleer than I do. So they were only having to kind of roll from the house down to the car park, throw all our stuff in the car. But there was a few of us had porridge, and there was a bit of a debate ongoing as to who had the best consistency. So Andy, Big Ben, pulled out his. It was like water. I didn't know what it was.
Oh, jeez.
Like soup.
I was like, and then Peter.
Oh, soup.
Yeah. And Peter McKeown, Pete's pulled out his, and it really looked like a flapjack. There was like no movement in that at all. Yeah, so there was a good debate on that morning as who's the better consistency of porridge. But it's anything and everything, lads. You can we're trying to mix it up that you're getting a bit of everything. Like maybe you might have a sandwich, you might have some porridge. Everyone's got a bit of gels.
Yeah, I tried cold spuds sliced up yesterday with chicken, and I thought it was the best thing. And then I ate it for the full stop, and then the next stop I went, I can't look at that. Anymore. Because you're trying to snack on the bike and you're eating bars and maybe a banana, and then you go back and you go, I just can't eat that.
Can't look at the spuds.
You're trying to eat something else, and it's tough.
But
you guys,
it's amazing how even a little change in food can make a big difference. Morale. When when Sean was doing his, I put some crisps in his sandwich and he bit into it, and I never forget his face. He was like, "Oh."
That was good. I wasn't expecting it.
Like you guys know, Eric, you know from the Ironman stuff, and Sean from them mad 24-hour runs you've been doing. Like I find personally, I find it very difficult to consume enough food.
Yeah.
It's like it's just you're actually sick of eating.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yesterday was I think a 7,500 calorie day. And like on top of the 2,500 you're allowed, like that's what 10,000 calories. Like you can eat all day and you're sick of eating.
Yeah.
Your stomach is
Yeah.
telling you to stop eating, but you just have to keep just
You need the fuel, yeah. You need
forcing
the
it down you.
Well, we did try pizza and chips yesterday.
We did. Yeah.
Wasn't
The
good.
morale boosting feed.
Wasn't a good idea though.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
No.
Yeah, they do that on the 24-hour runs. And to get to the stage where I've already had not too much, but I feel like I've had too much, and the pizza comes out, I'm like, this could break me.
Well,
and the lads be
it
running
did.
for it, but broke you guys.
Oh, I had an emergency stop.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of.
I wouldn't go that early in the morning though.
Yeah, I had an emergency.
As long as Big Ben isn't standing over you timing
With
it,
the
I
bell.
suppose.
Yeah.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah, Jim, one of the guys cycling was very kindly rang his wife and said to bring down chips at like 4 p.m. And we thought, look, that's a nice change up. We have a few chips, few salty chips. It'll be good. And we at that point we had 75 kilometers left, so we had said we do a 45k loop and a 30k loop just to kind of make it a little bit easier at the end of the day. And Jim's wife arrived down, and I presume she would have like 4 bags of chips between 8 of us. But there was 8, very kindly, there was 8 bags of chips and there was 2 pizzas.
2 massive pieces.
Oh, yes.
Eric, you know the drill.
no.
Like, I'm polite.
I'm all in.
You know, you couldn't
Hate
not-
wasting food.
Well, you had to eat them.
The woman went to a lot of trouble, like so.
Yeah.
We had.
I would have been putting the chips in the pizza and rolling.
Yeah,
Ah.
pizza and chips sandwich. That was all over it.
Yeah, it wasn't a good idea. It was great talk, but just didn't work out.
I had to make an emergency pit stop at about 6 p.m. into a local pub, and there was a lot of guys sitting there like they were watching the sport, backing horses, and I ran in my cycling gear and my cleats and like
Clip clop, clip clop, clip clop.
Can I use your toilet? Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a lesson learned even for
Yeah,
the
correct.
24 hours. And it's good. And I suppose it's good that you have done these things to trial these. You know that pizzas and chips, leave that for when the finish line comes, and it'll probably taste even better. But it's absolutely excellent. But you aren't just crazy. There's motivation behind it. You're doing this for charity, guys.
We are.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we're doing it for the Gary Kelly Cancer Centre in Drogheda, and we're doing it for a charity called Safe Castlebellingham, a suicide awareness charity. They really, really do excellent work in the local community in the whole northeast. I think suicide and cancer is something that has probably touched, unfortunately, everybody in the country. And the Gary Kelly Centre do a lot of good work, and it's all free. Anybody who needs anything from them.
Massive centre. They're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant for anybody.
Yeah.
Families, friends of people, counselling, not just for, the families, but for friends or anybody that's suffering. They can ring them up and talk to people, and they do loads of other classes and different stuff for everybody. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant centre.
It's fantastic. And Safe in Castlebellingham was set up by a lady, Patrice. Unfortunately lost 2 of our young sons to suicide in 2022. And they do a lot of really, really, really good work in the area for anybody who's either suffering from a bereavement or even to reach out in advance if anybody's worried about anything. And I think they probably helped to save some lives, which is fantastic. So we couldn't have thought of 2 better charities really to do it for. So that's the main motivation behind it. So can we raise awareness and raise a few quid for 2 very worthy charities.
And how is the fundraising going so far?
We got it set up last week. Was
just there at the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it went live on Friday. We
Yeah.
did a bit of work to do to get the charity set up on iDonate, and we just wanted to get it, everything, all the boxes ticked and everybody happy with it, and the good photograph and all that stuff was done last week. So went live on Friday, I think.
Friday, yeah.
Friday,
Friday
live.
just gone, yeah.
And yeah, I think we've a couple of €1,000 raised at this point. So
Tipping along nicely.
yeah, so yeah.
These kind of events, it's always one of those where it's one thing talking about 24-hour cycle, but I've always found like doing long events, it's hard to explain it until people are following you in the journey and they've gone to bed on the Saturday night and they woke up the Sunday morning going, geez, they're after going from Galway to whatever they are, going up there, and they start throwing a few quid. Where can people track you throughout the 24 hours? Do you have like a live track link, or what way would that work?
Yeah, I'm going to share a live track link on the charity page.
Brilliant. I will have that in our podcast notes.
Yeah, anybody who donates will be able to go to the page, the I Donate page, and we'll have a live track link on the day. Hopefully it'll be running smoothly, and it'll watch us ticking up the country at a nice average 28.5 kilometer hours average pace. But yeah, look, it's been a long few months to get to this point. The weather was brutal earlier in the year to try and get some training in. So I personally, I think I would have liked this to be another 2 or 3 weeks away. We really had to ramp the training up, like from, I think we had 2 or 3 spins in the 200s in April, and then kind of May, then it was kind of up into the high 200s into the 300s. But they took big jumps. They took like 40 and 50k jumps kind of week on week. You know, you would have liked to build them up like kind of 15, 20Ks maybe at a time, but that wasn't really an option with the weather. So
just to get another 2 or 3 weeks worth. But look, it is what it is.
I think it's always the way. I think it's always the way.
Yeah. Like it's go ahead.
How much do you trust your navigator?
Yeah, their life is on the line. It's a big cliff up in Malin Head, so.
And there's actually 2 roads to get to that cliff, and our navigator brought us over what was probably a 12% climb on the one road, and it nearly wiped out the whole team.
Well, Eric, so I hope that's on your Strava, because I will stalk that now.
Just have a little look. There's 2 roads. One is straight over the mountain and one is kind of around it. So in that last hour, if you're looking for minutes, you don't want to be going over that hill. So make sure the navigator has it well and truly sussed.
Oh, you know now. You definitely know now.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely brilliant what you guys are doing. It's absolutely excellent. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what the forfeit is. If you don't make it in 24 hours, no pressure.
We're not coming home.
Yeah.
We'll go again tomorrow on it. Before we wrap it up, just out of pure curiosity, which one got the other person into cycling and into, I'm not going to repeat that, cycling club and butcher their name again. Who got who into the cycling and how did that happen?
Well, the club was set up originally for it was called the D2K. It was a cycle from Dunleer to Kenny. So D2K for a chap, Paul Lannon, that had motor neuron. And it was Paul probably that set the club up, I think.
Yeah, Paul was one of the original founders of the club.
Yeah.
And contracted motor neuron. He had it for
14 years.
13 years, yeah. Unfortunately passed away a couple of months ago. And he was originally from Kilkenny and married a local woman, Sandra Fox, and moved to Dunleer. So the charity spin every year was the D2K Dunleer to Kilkenny, and we would cycle it down on the Saturday and cycle home on the Sunday, and that was
you had me on the Saturday. You lost me on the Sunday.
Well, only a few of us cycled home on the Sunday. Let's point that out.
It depends how the Saturday night went, whether you cycled home.
But what I done was I set up a few, like there was different groups. Like, I mean, there could be maybe like 160 people doing it on the day. So you had different groups starting at different times. It was a fantastic day, and it raised like, I don't know how many years. It ran for a good few years, and it raised like thousands and thousands of pounds for motor neuron, which was brilliant. But unfortunately, said Paul passed away only a few months ago. But that's originally where the club obviously would have came from. Like,
and that was, we kind of knew Paul was in a circus training class with my dad, so that's where that kind of idea came from. When the charity spin was set up, we said we'd do it, and that was it really. Once from that point, we decided, Lycra is the way to go. So
Lycra is the way to go. It definitely keeps all the right parts in all the right places. Anyway.
Yeah. So that was.
Look, it's good. I find, like, for me as well. You know, to have Gary there as well. You know, it's great. It's great for me. Like, I mean, I just said I'll do it when I can. the time will come I won't be able to do it, and I can look back and say, well, sure, we used to do that and we used to do that, and we've done plenty. So for me, it's brilliant. I love it.
And a lot of people say, why do you do these things? And why and how did you get into this and who dragged who? But I suppose the most important thing people forget about with sport is the time spent with each other. It's one thing that's greatly overlooked. You don't realize it when you go for a run with a person and you keep a regular run, you cycle as a father-son combination. If you weren't involved in sport, how much time would you spend with each other, giving out, talking?
Yeah, that's exactly that's not lost on us, you know.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who, you know, see their parents, if they're lucky, once a week, if they're lucky, for an hour or two, you know, and like there's plenty of people who don't have parents, and you know, for various different reasons, and like that's something that's never been lost on me. I know, like, I'm blessed to have the relationship I do with my dad. Like, we're friends, like we cycle together, we go on holidays together with families, and
we might not be friends now the 22nd, but we'll see.
The 24-hour moratorium on all friendships. That's it.
It was touch and go on the 3-1-2, so that was 12 hours. This is double that, so we'll have to wait and see.
We look forward to tracking you throughout those 24 hours as well. We'll have those links in the show notes. Guys, very best luck with it. It sounds class, sounds unbelievable. At the same time, though, I don't fancy trying to keep that pace going for the 24 hours. Sounds like a very, very tough challenge, but the very best luck to pair of you.
No bother. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week's episode of the Any Given Runday Podcast. Myself, Gary, Martin, and Aaron. Take care.